everyone, this is Deborah, your instructor, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Module 1. Okay, on my screen I am already looking at the module information page. This is the modules page, the table of contents that shows all the things you have to do. And so in Module 1, the first thing you should do is click here where it says Overview, Module 1, What to Do. And on that screen it's just a page, and it's going to show you a couple of different videos that you should watch. It'll have a summary of all the tasks you're going to do for the module. Just read that page, and then in the lower right corner of that page there will be a button called Next, and you can click Next and it'll take you right into the very next page, which is the very first piece in Module 1 of assignments to do. So the first thing that we have here is something called a discussion. It's called Business Letter Formats. That's the name of this particular discussion. So if you click that, you've got some instructions here telling you what to do. And generally for a discussion, there are several numbered questions that you need to answer. And so this describes here what the questions are and what you need to do to earn the points for this discussion. And up here at the top it says this is a graded discussion. There are 10 points possible, and over here on the far right it'll show you when this discussion is due by. Now you don't have to wait to turn it in until that final day, September 13th, but you can also turn it in sooner than that, of course. And I encourage you to do that if possible. But that's when it's due by. At 11:59 p.m. is the latest time you can turn it in for full credit on September 13th. Okay, so after the discussion is over with, when you're finished doing that, the next thing is called a training, and in this case it's called the Project 1 training. Okay, now a training is where you go online into MindTap, and it will walk you through this really amazing training program that shows you how to use the training program, how to learn from it. Basically what a training program is it gives you a simulation of a Word document, not a real one, but a simulated screen that looks like one. And the training lets you watch a little observation to see how it's done, and then you can practice it where it asks you to try it out yourself, and then it has you doing it on your own. So there, and you can repeat this as many times as you want. Now this video here will show you, this is the one that I made, and it shows you how to use training sessions in MindTap. So please be sure to watch this video before you do your first training session. Training sessions are not graded, and you can do them as many times as you want, and I highly encourage you to do them at least once. Go through them at least once, because it will help prepare you for the graded part of the assignment. So I'm going to click Next to go to the next piece. Okay, now for Module 1, there is one big project you're going to do, but it's divided up into two separate smaller projects. So the first half of Module 1 is Project 1.1. The second half is 1.2. So in this page you have 1.1, Project 1.1, and in that project you're going to create a business cover letter for some brochures and an envelope to mail out a report in. And the scenario is a phony situation in a business where it explains what's going on in this business and what your part in it is going to be. Okay, and please be sure to read the scenarios, because they really give you a good background, a good explanation of how this document that you're going to create fits into this particular business. Okay, so the first thing you should do is watch the video that you are watching right now, and then if you scroll this page further down, you'll see a couple of little screenshots, and you'll see some explanations and steps that I'm actually telling you in this video and showing you in the video. So when you're ready to start, after you've done the training program, or rather the training exercise, it's not a program, the training exercise, after you're done and you're ready to start working on the project, you're going to go here to this sort of wide rectangular shaped button. This is where it's going to load the project for you. So what you do is you click on that button, you give it a minute. Now in my case, because I'm the instructor, it's asking me to sign in. You being the student, you might not need to sign in because if you're already signed in, but it might ask you, and if it does, just sign in with your student email address if you have one, or however Cengage had you register your license. Okay, this is where you log into the Cengage MindTap website where you can do the project. Okay, so once you are signed in, then you're going to do the following. Okay, this is the slightly pink page I was telling you about earlier or I wasn't saying it out loud, but this is what you've read about before. And this is the beginning of every project. Every project has a start page that looks similar to this one. It'll give you the name of the project up here, usually just a number. It'll say Word Module 1 SAM Textbook Project 1.1, or whatever the number is. And notice that there is a red and white exclamation mark in a circle. You need to read this. You must use the SAM start file provided to receive credit for this assignment. Disregard textbook instructions that ask you to create a new file or to use a file from some other location. This is where you go to get started, always. Okay, first you'll see over here on the left hand side of the page an assignment overview. It will give you a button you can click here just to double check your computer to see if it has the right version of Microsoft Office installed. You don't have to click that if you don't want to. It's totally up to you to do that. So hopefully you do have this the software installed on your PC. If you're using a Mac computer, then you're going to have to log into the MiraCosta College server website, and that's a whole other thing. So if you're using a Mac computer, you need to email me and let me know so that I can provide you with the right instructions and information on how to do what you need to do. Okay. Down here you also have assignment details. You have up to 5 chances of turning in your work. So the first time you turn in your work, that's 1 out of the 5 chances. And if you don't like the score that you get, then you need to look at the report it provides for you, telling you where you went wrong and explaining how to fix things. Okay, so what you would then do is open up the original file that you submitted, and you would fix the errors, make sure that you do it right this time, and so on, and then you'll have 4 chances left to get it right. So please take advantage of that if you can, if you have time to do that. Then when you're ready to start, okay, you're just going to click the start button right over here. All right, now this is the 3 panels. You've got panel 1 that has number 1. Sometimes it'll have 1A and 1B, but this is all panel number 1 where you download files. That's the first thing you do, and I'll get back to that in just a second. Panel number 2, the one in the center, this is where you go to save your work. In other words, this is where you go to upload your file. Even if it isn't finished yet, you can upload it here and then open it back up here again when you're ready to work on it to finish it. And finally, panel number 3, this is where you would click the submit for grade when it becomes clickable. This only becomes clickable after you have uploaded your file into the center panel here, into number 2. Now for number one, I'm coming back to number one. When the first thing you do is you download your files. Now here there are two different files you have to download for project 1.1. The first file is called the start file. That's this one here. And this is the file that will download onto your computer, and it will become the file that you will end up working on, saving and turning in over here in the middle and submitting for a grade over here on the right hand side. That is the start file. Okay, now how are you going to know what to do to this start file? Well, that's where this comes in. You need to get your instructions file here. This is the instructions file, and that will tell you step by step exactly what to do. See this paragraph where you have the word SAM and a down pointing blue arrow? Well, that is something you're going to see in the instructions file, and you will also see it in your textbook because the instructions file is taken from the textbook. So when you see this symbol where it says SAM with a down pointing blue arrow, that indicates the beginning of the instructions, the steps that you have to follow to do what you have to do to the start file. When you're finished, when the project is all finished, that's when you will see this symbol, the word SAM, and an up pointing red arrow. That means you have come to the end of the instructions. You don't have to do anything else to this project that you're going to turn in, and what it's telling you to do here is save it and upload it into this middle panel over here. Step 2, save your work to SAM. That's what this is. And then finally you're going to submit for your grade here. Okay. Now when you download this start file of any project, it will download into the downloads folder of your computer. Every PC computer has a downloads folder. And when it does that, it will automatically give it this name, okay? And so in my case, it's calling it New Microsoft Word Document D, or actually D for Deborah, deborahsable.docx. Well, in your case, it'll say the same thing, except instead of my name, Deborah Sable, it'll have your name, okay? And so that is going to be how it downloads. Now somewhere in the steps you're going to read in the instructions, it's going to tell you how to save it, what to save it as. And so this is probably the name that it's going to be called. That's probably the file name it's going to be. It may be slightly different than this, but just follow what the book tells you, what the instructions, this file tells you what to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and download all right now, and it's working, it's happening, and it's opening the start file. This is my start file. This is what your start file is going to look like. And to get started on it, you will have to go up here to this yellow bar area and click Enable Editing. Okay, now how do you know what you're going to do here? Well, I'll show you. I'm going to minimize this screen, and I'm going to look for my instructions. Okay, after you click Download All, it will only download the files, the start file, and any additional files like pictures or photographs files, that kind of thing, that are going to be used with this start file. In this case, this very first project you're doing, there's just the one start file. That's all there is. So the instructions, you have to click on that by itself, and what will happen is a separate window opens up that looks like this. Okay, now first of all, there's a panel over here that has all different kinds of things you might be interested in, but none of this has anything to do with starting this project. So I'm going to click this little double arrow thing to close the sidebar. Okay, get it out of the way. And up here you have some other options. You have a way of hearing. By clicking this icon, you can hear the instructions. By clicking this button here, you can make the instructions appear larger, the font appear larger. So, take advantage of those things if you need to, and just kind of scroll down and start reading what this is. Now, remember what I said about the SAM with the blue down pointing arrow is the beginning of the steps? Well, that's true technically. However, in these instructions, this very beginning, the first couple of steps, you kind of have to ignore. Why is that? Well, because it assumes that you're not using Canvas. It doesn't assume that you're using our virtual classroom or that I'm providing you with anything. So you have to kind of skip this because this is like a generic instructions for people who are not using Canvas. Well, we do use Canvas, and so what you want to do is go past that, okay, and click this little right pointing arrow. You're not doing anything on this page. You're just going to click the right pointing arrow to go to the next page. Okay, and this is now talking about how to work in touch mode. If you happen to use a computer that has a touch screen on it, it talks about that. Okay, so this explains how to use that. All right, yada yada yada. Then you want to click the right pointing arrow button again, and it's telling you how to set up the word window. Okay, so I'm going to scroll that, and this is kind of an important part. You do need to watch this and kind of kind of do what it says here if you possibly can. All right, you're definitely going to want to follow these instructions. Okay, if you can, if you try to follow these instructions and nothing really happens, that's okay. Just keep going and I'll tell you where it really starts. Okay, so we're going to click the right pointing arrow again. How to save a document. Okay, you're going to save this document. I'm scrolling the page up to look at these steps. And by the way, the steps that you're going to follow are your instruction steps are these orange little squares. Okay, these are your steps that you need to actually do and follow. So this is where you're going to actually start to save the blank document that you've got on your screen. All right, the blank document I'm talking about looks like this. Okay, this is just a blank document. And so what you have to do in this blank start file document that you downloaded, right? You downloaded it, okay, good. What you have to do is save this with the correct file name. So I'm going to minimize that. And here in this instruction, it's telling you saving a document. Okay, to save the document in the right way, you're going to follow these steps starting with this orange step number 1. So follow what it tells you to do. Read everything, okay? And make sure that you save that blank start file with this name, okay? All right, now you're going to, keep reading. You're going to do what the steps tell you to do. Like here it says, David has asked you to type a block style letter to accompany some water conservation brochures that will be sent to this person, okay? So these are pictures that show you what it should look like. All right, and these little green arrows with the instructions on them, little printed balloons, these are just ways of expressing what you should be looking for, but your letter is going to end up looking like that. So again, anytime you want to turn the page, you just click this little right pointing arrow button, and here's the instruction for entering text. It's just telling you what you're going to be doing. So Click the right pointing arrow again. Here you're going to insert a date with autocomplete, the autocomplete tool. So, just follow these steps and keep going to the right as you go. So when you're done, remember that you're going to look for that, that red up pointing arrow next to the word Sam. Okay, I wanted to show you this page. It's called Word 1-11, which should show you, if you're looking at the actual textbook itself, a physical copy of the book, then it's telling you you're in chapter 1, page 11 of chapter 1, okay? So you're going to be on this page previewing and printing a document, okay? It's going to explain to you what that means, how to do that. So you're going to follow what it says, but you don't have to actually really print it out, okay? Now here it says next, David asks you to create an envelope, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well that's the next part of project 1.1, okay? You're going to click this arrow, and you're going to create this envelope, and you're going to keep going. You're going to follow these steps. All right, and you're going to start to follow these new orange block steps for this new part of the project. So you're going to follow exactly what this says. You're going to do exactly what this says. Click blank document. A new document named document 2 opens in the doc. You're going to follow all of that. You're going to save that document as the envelope. It's going to become an envelope. It's going to become an envelope. And so you just keep following these steps, doing what it says to do until you get to the bottom of the page, and then click the right pointing arrow again to move to the next page and the next. And keep going, all right, until you get to this piece here. Now this is the beginning of, this is the beginning of project 1.2, and at this point you don't actually begin it all. This is not a continuation of project 1.1. No, this is the beginning of a whole new project, project 1.2. The second half, this is the beginning of the second half of Module 1's project. Should you do it here and now? No. Instead, you're going to close this. All right. You're going to close this. And if you still are seeing project 1.1 here, you want to close that tab also. And okay, remember we were on this page for project 1.1, the first half of module 1. All right, scroll to the bottom, click the next button in Canvas. Now here we are on the page for the next half of the module 1 project, which is project 1.2. That's the second half. This is where you're going to modify a business flyer and the minutes of a meeting. You're going to do those two things. So you're going to follow these directions. You're going to read this, and you're going to click here to load the next project. The next half, I should say, which is a project by itself, but it's half of the second half of module 1. All right. Does this look familiar? You saw this at the beginning of the first project. Well, now instead of saying 1.1, it says 1.2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click Start. And again, you get these three panels, Panel 1, Panel 2, and Panel 3, but it's a little different here. Okay, look at these files. You have two separate start files now, and you also have a picture file, which is a support file to go with the start files. So you need to download all of these, all right, and you also need to open then these new instructions for the new half of this project. So you're going to click here to download all. You'll have these start files to start with, and the correct start file should automatically open for you in Word software. Now, remember, wherever you download these files, remember where they are in your download folder. Okay, remember your download folder. Unless you tell it to go somewhere else, you've got to open up your download folder and you'll find it here at the top. Remember, it's downloads, right? It's in there. Okay, I'm going to close that. And remember, your instructions are going to open in a separate window. So I'm going to open the instructions that are going to tell me what to do with these new start files. Okay, this is where we left off, opening an existing document. So now we're ready to pick up where we left off, and you need to do exactly what it says here, okay, except, check this out, this is really important, okay. I know this is the icon with the blue arrow next to the word SAM that indicates the beginning of the steps you have to follow. Yes, that's true, but don't do the first couple of steps, because it assumes, like I said before, it assumes that you are not using Canvas. Well, we are using Canvas, so you kind of have to ignore when it tells you navigate to the Word 1 module folder included with your data files and click to open the. You need to ignore that because you already downloaded the file, the right file. It's already open in Word software on your screen. Okay, and so you're going to skip this part. Any project that tells you navigate to the Word 1 module folder, any project that tells you that, ignore that and skip it to where it starts with new instructions just below that, and go ahead and do that. Okay, do those steps, and then remember to click the right pointing arrow to change the page to the next page, and remember to scroll the page up to get to the steps that you need. Okay, and remember, at the very end of your project, you're going to look for anything that tells you click the File tab and then click Close. Okay, just remember to look for the SAM icon right here with the red arrow pointing up, which means it's time to save your work and upload it. You're done. Do not go past this point unless you really just want to learn some new stuff on your own. Okay, but in terms of what you're submitting to earn your grade, you will stop at this point and you will upload your work into one of those 3 panels. Okay, remember the 3 panels? You're going to come back to this page and you're going to upload your work here, and then you're going to click Submit over here, and that's how you will get your grade. Now, if you have any questions about any of these steps that I've shown you or anything else that I haven't shown you, please email me as soon as you can, and I will help you just as quickly as I can.